Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today starts my September wrap-up vlog, so stay tuned. So it's actually future editing me here, and I forgot to film an intro for this video, and apparently I forgot to film my little wrap-up vlog clip for apparently at least the first 2 books that I finished. So I'm having to pull those clips from the vlogs that I was doing at that time. Hopefully it's just those 2, but if not, I will figure it out throughout editing this. But just wanted to get this video started and to let you know that some of these may be familiar if you watch my vlogs. Enjoy! So let me start out with, I finished listening to Time of Our Lives by Emily Wibberley and Austin Segman Broca. And I think I've given all of their books up to this point 5 stars. I've really enjoyed them. This one, I'm gonna give 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, but I'm not one that likes an open-ended, really, ending. I like my endings nice and neat in a nice little neat little package, and I didn't really get that with this. So we have Fitz and Juniper, and they're both on their separate college tours. Fitz is begrudgingly on a college tour with his brother that he's not very close with, and he really doesn't want to be there because he has no intention of going to school somewhere away from home. He wants to be home. He wants to be with his mom because his mom, she got test results back that said that she was guaranteed to get early onset Alzheimer's, which her mother had had. And ever since then, Fitz has been there to, want to take care of her and want to make sure she remembers things. And he doesn't want to go and leave and go to a school far away where he can't be there with her as she starts losing her memory. And then Juniper, she has a very overbearing kind of family and is one of 6 children and lives with her aunt and her mom and dad, and it's just kind of like chaos. And her aunt especially makes her feel very guilty for wanting to go to school away, but she wants to kind of escape this family, like this overbearing family. She loves them very much, but she wants to find herself and do this for herself. And some of her family don't really agree with that and feel like she's being very selfish by doing this. And along the way, Fitz and Juniper meet. And in the beginning, Jupiter's actually on her college trip with her high school boyfriend. And they each have their own individual stories going on as well. Fitz has got his story with his mother. He's also got this relationship with his brother that is sort of estranged, and they're working through some of their issues throughout this trip. And then Juniper is traveling with Matt, her boyfriend from high school, and they're kind of learning that they're both on 2 separate paths when it comes time for college. I like I said, I really enjoyed it, but I was just a little meh about the end. So that's why I'm giving this 4 stars. And then yesterday, I did manage to complete Cure for the Common Universe by Christian McKay Heidecker. Okay, so this is about a kid, a boy, like a high school boy. I don't know what his exact age is, but he's like a video game nerd, and he stays holed up in his bedroom all the time. It's summer break. He's spending all of his free time playing video games, kind of cutting the rest of the world off. Though he is a smart kid, like in school he's got a 4.0, so that's kind of the deal he's made with his dad. As long as his grades are good, he lets him play these video games. But I guess his dad's gotten remarried to this girl who's literally like 4 years older than our main character. So he has issues with her, and she has issues with him playing these video games and not exercising and all this stuff. And well, the dad and the stepmother, they end up committing him to video game rehab. However, the day that this goes down, he has met this girl. He's taken the stepmom's car to the car wash and he's washing it, and he ends up meeting a girl, and she's this beautiful girl, and she actually laughs at the things he says, and she agrees to go on a date with him, his first ever date. And then when he arrives back home, his computer's being taken away, and there are these two giant guys there to haul him off to video game rehab. And he tries to convince his dad, like, hey, I'm gonna go into the real world. I have a date. But his dad doesn't believe him. And he gets to this video game rehab, and they sort of incorporate it like it's a game, and they have to earn experience points in order to get out. So they get points for making healthy choices for food, and for doing this exercise or this or that, learning a new skill, just different things. And in order to be released, they have to earn 1 million XP. Apparently, the average of how long it takes to earn this amount of XP is about 4 weeks, though the fastest person has done it in 2 weeks. And his date is in 4 days, so it's his goal to try to earn 1 million points in 4 days so he can get out and get back in time for his date. It was a lot of fun. There were a lot of video game references, and having played several of these video games, especially like the Final Fantasy games, I understood a lot of these references, and then I enjoyed it. Though I do want to say that even though this is YA, I just smacked myself in the nose with the book. Even though this is YA, it kind of gave me more like middle grade vibes. Really, the only exception that I could see for this being YA versus middle grade is the fact that they're able to drive. That's it. The language, I have heard middle schoolers use this kind of language, especially when it comes to video games. But other than that, really, this gave like the maturity level of middle grade, I think. The way it ended kind of left me meh. I was a little disappointed. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the ending. It just seemed kind of flat to me. So in the end, I give this 3.5s, but I did really enjoy it. And then today I finished listening to Clicked by Tamara Ireland Stone. And this is middle grade, but it actually works the opposite way of this, because I could see this being more YA than middle grade. Really, the only thing that made this middle grade was the fact that they're in 7th grade. But really, they could have been in 10th or 11th grade for what was going on in here and how they acted, how they talked, relationships, all of that. This, I could have easily been a YA. And it was, I loved it. It was really, really cute. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And I would give this 4 stars. It's about a girl who, she spent the summer at like this girls' coding camp, and she created this app called Clicked that is sort of like a friendship app where they answer a bunch of like questionnaire type stuff, and it matches you with other people that are on the app that you will click with, that you have a lot in common with, and you're likely to be very good friends with. And then once you click with somebody, it doesn't tell you right away who you're clicked with. It gives you kind of hints. So when you get within a certain distance of somebody, then your phone will flash blue and it'll go bloop. When you get closer, it'll flash yellow and it'll go bloop bloop. And when you're like really, really close to them, it'll flash red and it'll go bloop bloop bloop. and you get together and you tap your phones together and it goes woohoo and opens up the camera app. You take a selfie and it shares it with everybody on the clicked app. A new friendship. And there's also like this whole leaderboard to see like how high up your matches are and things like that. Oh, also when it flashes red, it gives you a hint of who the person is by taking a picture from their Instagram feed and showing you that picture to kind of give you an idea of who it is. It's a big hit. Everybody loves it. The app goes just viral. But then there's a glitch and it starts sharing pictures not just from Instagram, but from people's own personal photos, which gets a little tricky and people's secrets start coming out and it gets to be a big problem. Also, she's trying to compete in this Games for Good competition, and her app's having a lot of trouble before this competition comes up. And there's also her sort of arch nemesis that's in this competition as well, and he's created this amazing app. And this was just a super cute story. I really enjoy it. I highly recommend it, and I give it 4 stars. So it is Monday, September 7th, and I've completed one more book. So yesterday I completed Entwined by Heather Dixon. This is a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, and I've never actually read the 12 Dancing Princesses, but this makes me want to kind of compare how this story went versus the original. This is dark, and it was really good. I give it 4 stars. It starts out sad. Like, it starts out in the beginning, the 12 girls, actually it's only 11 in the beginning, but the mother, the queen, is pregnant with the 12th daughter, and upon giving birth, the mother passes away. And the father, the king, he doesn't really handle his grief very well and leaves the 12 daughters to themselves, and he goes off to war. And so they're kind of like stuck caring for themselves, and they're in mourning, and they have to wear all black and keep the drapes drawn so no sunlight comes in, and they're also forbidden to dance. And dancing's the only thing that makes them feel any kind of goodness. Like, it helps them feel connected to their mother because their mother is the one that taught them to dance, and it's the only thing that makes them feel good. And they keep getting in trouble because they keep dancing, and one of the servants there that's kind of helping to keep an eye on the girls, he locks up the ballroom and doesn't allow them in there. And this palace has some magic history to it. So there was this high king that magicked several things in the palace, and he also created some magic passages, and the girls find one of these magic passages, which leads them to this amazing glittering forest with this beautiful pavilion and this enchanting man that allows them to dance. And they dance the night away, and they think they've figured out the solution around not being allowed to dance where other people can see. And this enchanting man, he's known as Mr. Keeper. And the problem with Mr. Keeper is he likes to keep things, and that causes issues. It's really good. I highly recommend it, and I give it 4 stars. It is Tuesday, September 8th, and I've completed one more book. I finished The Perfect Husband by Lisa Gardner. Katniss is trying to get my attention. So this is a thriller about a woman who, she married this decorated police officer at a very young age. She had his child, and, well, the relationship was not a good one. And then she learned he was even worse of a person than she thought, and he has been murdering women. And she helps the police put him behind bars, and now he's escaped and he's coming for her. and she's seeking the help of this former Marine, now turned mercenary, to train her and prepare her for when he finds her. This is really good. I give it 4 stars. There was a lot of twists and turns. There was a lot of things that happened that I wasn't expecting, and it was really good. I highly recommend this all for you. Also, while I was out and about, I finished listening to The Help by Catherine Stockett. I give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's been many years since I've watched that movie, and I remembered the gist of it, but I didn't really remember a lot. I feel like I need to rewatch it now that I've like gone through the book. I feel like the book has a whole lot more in it than the movie did. It was great. It was about, if you haven't seen the movie or read the book, it's about the maids working for these white women in the 1960s in Jackson, Mississippi. And you know, it kind of mentions some historical things that happened throughout during that time, but it was really like good stories and bad stories of working for these women, and you know, some of the women that really cared for their maids and took care of them, but they still weren't like paid enough. And it talked about segregation, and it also talked about the ones that didn't really care for their help at all, and how they could easily be tossed aside, and how also if they did something that their white ladies didn't like, they could be completely ruined. Like for the smallest thing, they can not only lose their job there, but their spouse could lose their job, their house could be foreclosed on, their car could be, you know, taken away. They won't be able to get a job anywhere. Their spouse won't be able to get a job anywhere. They can't afford their house anymore, or they get their house taken away, and then they have to like move to live with their child, and their child's having to support them, but then their child ends up losing their job because of this. And the next thing you know, they've got people knocking down their door, and there's hanging and shootings and just but there was a lot of humor throughout the book as well. I particularly loved the part about the pie. Yeah, if you don't know, you should read it. But there's a great thing about this chocolate pie with one of the maids, Minnie, and it's also told in like multiple perspectives, and by some of it's by the maids, some of it's by some of this white women, and it's about this woman Skeeter who is kind of putting together all these stories and writing a book to get published, and it was just really good, and I highly recommend it. So now on to my reading. So yesterday I completed one book. I completed Ruby Red by Kristen Geyer, and this was my translated for Becca's Bookopoly-thon. I enjoyed it. I think I would give it a 3.75. I am looking forward to continuing the series. The only reason it didn't get higher is because of how it kind of, well, alright, so this is about a girl who her whole life has believed that her cousin is going to inherit this time traveling gene, but turns out it's actually her, and she hasn't been trained for this. She's not prepared in any way whatsoever, and people kind of think it's not for real and that it really isn't her, but it is. And she starts sporadically traveling through time, and there didn't seem like a whole lot going on in the story, like progressing in the story throughout. It was a super quick read. It was very enjoyable, but it was like the story was just picking up, like it was going to, you know, something was going to happen, like we were just getting into the story, and it was the end of the book. So I'm looking forward to reading the next, and I imagine it's going to be a quick read like this one. But yeah, I only give it a 3.75 just because the plot was kind of lacking in this one. And then today I finished I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson, and I'm gonna give this one 3.5. It was a bit confusing because of it. It's not only told in dual perspectives between these twins. We have Jude and her brother Noah, and it goes back and forth, not just between their two perspectives, but also between two different times in their lives. So that we have when they're like 14, and then we have later when they're like 16. And it gets kind of confusing going back and forth between them and between the times. But the gist of the story is that they're super, super close. And then something happens when they're 14 that by the time they're 16, they're practically strangers to each other and they don't get along at all. And at 16, they're trying to work things out. And there's some cheating tropes in here, which I'm not a fan of. And there's also some queer representation because Noah is gay and he's kind of maneuvering those waters in the whole discovering a boy that he likes, and neither of them are really out. And there's also some dealing with grief because their mother dies in a car accident. This also happens when they're 14, and in the beginning it kind of seems that has something to do with this divide between them. But so there's dealing with grief, and then there's also, I think, some mental health issues because Jude, she's a bit of a hypochondriac. Like she can have the sniffles and think she's got like Ebola or something like that, and she knows all these different medical conditions, and she's kind of afraid of everything because of that. And she also doesn't really have any friends anymore. At 16, she's a loner and sworn off boys, and the only people she really talks to are her dead mother and her dead grandmother. So yeah, I give that 3.5. Okay, so it is currently Monday, September 21st, and though I filmed my thoughts on this in my vlog, I totally forgot to do my little wrap up for it. So I have quite a few to catch you up on. Okay, so on, I think it was the 16th, I finished Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Young. And in this world, we have three casts. We have the paper cast, which are strictly human. Here, let me read this part. They're fully human, unadorned with any animal demon features, and incapable of demon abilities such as flight. Then we have the steel cast, which are humans endowed with partial animal demon qualities, both in physicality and abilities. And then the moon cast, fully demon with whole animal demon features such as horns, wings, or fur on a humanoid form, and complete demon capabilities. And this world is ruled by a demon king, and he is not a nice person. Also, trigger warnings for rape, because that happens quite a bit in this book. But every year, the demon king takes 8 paper cast girls as his consorts, and he gets a new group every year, and he thinks that he's doing these paper cast a favor by essentially raping these 8 girls. It's awful. But this year, for some reason, they've decided to take on a 9th because our main character, she's got these amazing eyes and is sure that the king is going to want her as a consort. So she's brought into this, and she's not happy about it at all. She didn't choose to be a paper girl, but she's hoping while she's there that she can find out what happened to her mother, because 7 years ago, the king had her village attacked, and in that, they took her mother. And so she's hoping that she can find out what happened with her mother. This was really good. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, and I'm really looking forward to reading the next one. And then on Thursday the 17th, I completed 2 other books. I completed The Train to Impossible Places by P.G. Bell. I give this 3.5 stars. This is about a girl who wakes up and there is a train pulling into her house. Her house has been transformed and this train is making a shortcut through her house. And this is a train to impossible places. It goes to the space, it goes to the ocean bottom shipwrecks, and it is a troll operated delivery service. And our main character, she ends up stowing away just to end up getting a job as a delivery person for this train. And her first delivery, the package begs her to not deliver it, and so she kind of steals what's in there, and then they're being hunted afterwards. This was a lot of fun, and I give it 3.5 stars. Then I finished York, or The Shadow Cipher, which is book 1 of the York series. This is a chunker, but it was so fun to read. There's a lot of high stakes involved in this. So it starts out with a little flash from the past, and it ends with a flash from the past as well, but the majority of the story is set in current day. So the Morningstar twins, they were these geniuses that made these amazing buildings and amazing gadgets and stuff for the city of New York. And then they disappeared. But they left this cipher that was supposed to lead to this great treasure somewhere in New York. And for the past 150 or 160 years, people have been trying to solve this cipher and find this treasure. And now onto our current day, we have these twins that have been named after the Morningstar twins living in one of the Morningstar buildings. And this evil land developer has just bought out their building, and they only have 30 days until they have to be evicted. So they're trying to save their building by trying to figure out this cipher and get this treasure before their home can be destroyed. I immediately went on the search for the sequel to this book. It's called The Clockwork Ghost, and I ended up ordering it on Amazon. This was so good. I can't remember if I gave this 4 stars or 5 stars. Thinking on it now, I'm gonna say I would give this 4.5 stars. Really enjoyed it, highly recommend it. And then yesterday on the 20th, I finished 3 books. The first one was The Titan's Curse, which is the 3rd book in the Percy Jackson series. I can't really say much about it because it's part of a series, but I really enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars, and I'm having a lot of fun reading these books for the first time. And then I finished The Star Thief by Lindsay Becker. If you're fans of the Percy Jackson series or any of those like mythology-based kind of stories, I think you're really going to enjoy this. This was actually a debut novel. It's the only book that she has out so far, and I loved it. It was great. I give this one 4.5 stars as well. You have these human pirates slash scientists that are out hunting constellations, and constellations are actual mystical beings, and they're also muses. So each one is a muse for a different thing, and these pirate scientists, they're trapping these muses and using them to make scientific discoveries and such. It was a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. 4.5 stars. And then I completed The Sandcastle Empire by Kayla Olson. Now, if you've read this, I can say you would definitely like The Wilder Girls. If you like The Wilder Girls, you're going to like The Sandcastle Empire. I, however, didn't really care for either. So with The Wilder Girls, it was just a little too weird, a little too gruesome for me. And I think this one was a little too weird for me as well. I give it 2.5 stars. I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like it either. You have the wealthy has been kind of attacked and put away in these gulags, almost like concentration camps, by the poorer class. and they're calling themselves the Wolves. Now the Wolves have kind of like swapped places with the wealthy, and they have everything and the wealthy have nothing, but then they've kind of taken it to an extreme, and not only do the wealthy have nothing, but they're like put in these, like I said, these concentration camp type things. And our main character, her as well as a few others, escape one of these gulags, and with the help of her father's field guide, try to find this place called the Sanctuary, which is supposed to be this great amnesty kind of place. And once they get to this island, it's nothing as they expected. There are things like beetles that are attracted to their blood, poisonous moss, vines that'll wrap around your ankles and make you hallucinate, things like that. It was just, I don't know, I couldn't really connect with the book. And like I said, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either. And I give it 2.5 stars. So it is Thursday, September 24th, and I have read 3 more books. So on Tuesday, the 22nd, I read, I think it's my first 5-star this month, and that was Whispering Pines by Heidi Lang and Katie Bartowski. This book is so creepy. Oh my gosh, like this is the kind of book that can give you like nightmares for real. There are monsters, there are ghosts and witches, and the monster's like super creepy. And as I was reading this, I was just like, I need to know what happens. When I had 90 pages left, it was like already past when I needed to go to sleep, but I was like, I can't go to sleep with this in my brain because I'll have nightmares. And so I stayed up really late Tuesday night and had to finish it. And this is a 5-star read. It's fabulous. If you like a book that's going to scare you, this book will do it. I was sitting in my little chair in the library and all the lights were off except for the one right above me, and so everything around me was dark, and I was totally creeped out. Like every sound my animals made was terrifying me because I thought this monster was here. And then as I got to the end, I realized that this is the first book in a series. This is not a standalone, and that means I have to wait at least like a year or so before the next one comes out, because this one just came out this month. I highly recommend it. If you like a scary story, this is it. And then on Wednesday the 23rd, I read The Explorer by Catherine Rundle, and I gave this 3.75. This is about this group of 4 kids who are the only survivors of a plane crash, and they crash in the Amazon jungle. And it's really them trying to make their way to safety, or make their way home, or find somebody that can help them. And it was good. It was there were some high stakes moments in here, and it wasn't just all light and fluff. And you also got to learn about a bunch of different creatures in here, which was kind of cool. I really enjoyed it, and I give it 3.75. And then today I finished The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis, and this deals with rape culture. It's very dark. Mindy McGinnis tends to go pretty dark in her books, and this was no exception. Our main character, Alex, is dealing with the loss of her sister, but not just that. Her sister was taken very violently. Her sister was raped and then murdered, and her body was left out in the woods for the animals to feed upon. And well, nobody would handle that well, and Alex, she definitely doesn't handle it well, and that's all I can really say. It's really good. It's dark, and yes, there are definitely trigger warnings for rape here, but I give this 4 stars. So it is Saturday, September 26th, and I completed one more book. I completed Autobiography by Christina Lauren, and I give this 4 stars. It's about a boy who's moved from California to Provo, Utah, where the majority of the public is Mormon. And before, when he was living in California, he was out as bi, but once he moved to Provo, he kind of had to go back into the closet, at least with everybody other than his family. And he was so close to making it all the way through high school and getting out of Provo and could just be free again when his best friend convinces him to join this writing seminar where they have 4 months to write a book. And in this time, he meets this Mormon boy who he is very much into. And in the Mormon culture, any kind of homosexuality is not acceptable. And well, that's kind of what this is all about. And it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts, and as well as hearing from the authors themselves, make sure to check out the live show that we had with Christina and Lauren. I'll link that up here. It's gonna be great. It is Sunday, September 27th, and I've completed one more book. I don't have a physical copy here. Well, actually, I do have a physical copy, but it's packed away somewhere. I haven't found it yet. But I listened to the audiobook of Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page. This was a reread for me. I give it 4 stars just like the first time. It is a Wizard of Oz retelling. Well, not necessarily retelling. It's like a continuation, I guess. It takes place after the Wizard of Oz, where after Dorothy went back to Kansas, she wasn't really happy there after all and found a way to get back to Oz. And when she went back to Oz, everybody was like happy to see her, and they ended up making her a princess and all of this, but she went kind of like power hungry and was like wanted all the magic for herself and was making everybody miserable and was just ruining Oz. And the Wicked Witches have kind of teamed up to try to take out Dorothy, and somebody has managed to summon another tornado that has pulled another girl from Kansas to Oz, and that is Amy Gum from current day Kansas, who's grown up knowing all about Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and all that stuff from the movies and the books and all that stuff, and she lives in Kansas and everybody knows about it. But she didn't know it was a real place until she finds herself there, and she's like, what the crap? And then nothing is as it was in the books or the movies, and she's like, what's going on with Oz? Why is it like this? And everybody pretty much says the same thing. Dorothy has ruined Oz and is making everybody miserable, and Amy's been summoned there to assassinate Dorothy. It's a lot of fun. It's all very twisted and I love it, and I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It is Monday, September 28th, and I completed 2 more books yesterday. I completed The Wicked Will Rise and Yellow Brick War by Danielle Page. This is book 2 and 3 in the Dorothy Must Die series. These were both rereads, and they're both 4 stars, and I love this series. It's so much fun, and I'm really looking forward to continuing. So it is Wednesday, September 30th, which means it's the end of the month, and I have read 4 more books. So on Monday the 28th, I finished The End of Oz by Danielle Page, and I give this 5 stars. This series is fabulous, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. Can't really tell you anything about this one though, because it's the last in the series. Then yesterday on the 29th, I completed The Selection by Kira Cass. This was actually supposed to go on to my October TBR, but well, I wanted something to listen to in audio, and I was able to get this on Hoopla, so I listened to it. Granted, this is supposed to be my audiobook for October, but because the entire Selection series is on Hoopla, I'm just going to pick a different one of them as my audiobook in October. But this is okay, The Selection is about this future world where it's no longer called the United States. Instead, it's called Elysium or something like that. And it's run by a monarchy, and our prince has come of age and is in need of a bride, and they do it sort of bachelor style, where they have 35 different girls competing to become the next princess. And every girl between the ages, I think, of like 16 to 19 or something like that is invited to fill out an application and apply, and it's supposed to be randomly selected. And our main character, America Singer, she is in a lower caste and doesn't expect to get selected, but she does. And well, in this world, there is a caste system. So the very top are the royals, and they are ones. And then you have like the teachers and things like that are threes. The fives, which America Singer is, they're like the artists and the singers and the musicians. And then you have sixes, which are like clerical work, I think, and I think sevens are servants, and then eights are like homeless and criminals. But there is a lot of political turmoil in here. During this, they have rebels come and attack the palace, and all of that's happening in the midst of this whole competition. And America, she's only there really in the beginning for the money to help her family, because every week that they're there, their family gets a check. And well, because she's a lower caste, her family needs all the money they can get because they don't make a whole lot. And she volunteers to help the prince because she's not interested in actually being with him, but she volunteers to help him weed through his selection and tells him, you know, I'll give you the inside scoop, just, you know, keep me around as long as possible, and then, you know, when it gets closer to time, you can let me go and pick the girl you want. Though, of course, feelings get involved, and then an ex shows up. It's a lot of fun. I give it 4 stars, and I'm also really looking forward to the Netflix show, which is coming out in like 2021 sometime. And then today I read New World Rising by Jennifer Wilson. This is the first book in this futuristic dystopian world. The world as we know it has gone through this great devastation, and most of the people have been like eliminated, and a new government kind of thing was formed, a safe place called the Sanctuary. And as long as you were, you know, well behaved and you didn't fight and all of this stuff, you could be in this safe place called the Sanctuary. And if you were going to cause issues, you had to be outside of it. And the outside comes to be called Tartarus. And in Tartarus, you're just kind of on your own, and the world is kind of just a big mass of devastation. And everybody's kind of split into tribes. We have the Wraiths, the Ravengers, the Adriots, the Taciturns, the Scavengers, and they all have their own style, they all have their own methods, and they all struggle. And then our main character, Phoenix, she has watched her parents be murdered when she was 11 years old. They were murdered by Ravengers, and she's left in this world in Tartarus to fend for herself for the past 6 years. And she's been a loner, she's been surviving, she manages to take care of just herself. And then one day she sees a small child, a little girl, in trouble, about the same age she was when her parents were murdered. And for some reason, she risks her own life to save this little girl, and she finds herself captured not by any of the tribes she knows, but by another group who is intent on bringing down not only the tribes, but also the Sanctuary. And when they were discussing The Sanctuary, it very much gave me like The Giver vibes, and I really enjoyed The Giver. And outside of The Sanctuary, it did remind me of some other books that I recently read, and it was funny because I didn't realize this was the first in the series until I got further in, and I was like, okay, I don't know how this is going to end in the amount of time we have. And then I looked it up and I saw it was part of a series, and something that said about this series was Legend by Marie Lu meets The Giver by Lois Lowry. And I was like, okay, I recently read the Legend, and that's kind of what Tartarus reminds me of. And then The Sanctuary is like the world in The Giver. So I really enjoyed it. I've actually ordered the next 2 books in the series, or the last 2 books in the series, because I really want to see what happens next. And then also today I completed The Elite by Kira Cass, and I also give this 4 stars. And I just want to say that America's Singer, our main character, she's kind of leading both Maxim and what's his name, Aspen. I think she's kind of leading them both to believe that yes, she could choose them, but she might also not choose them. But she really wants to choose them, but she might not choose them. And I feel for them. But I give this 4 stars as well. I'm really enjoying this series. Okay, let me see if I can hold all these books. Okay. Oh! Dear. Okay, so I can't fit them all in the frame. I read, I think, 24 books this month, unless I'm forgetting some audiobooks. But yeah, 24 books this month. My brain is a little fried, and now I'm gonna try to read like almost the same amount in October. We'll see how that goes. But I loved all these readings. I had a great time, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. So have you guys read any of these books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!